Hey there, you. Yeah, you, scrolling through YouTube, looking for something real, something that hits you right in the heart. What if I told you that in the next few minutes, you're going to uncover a story so raw, so human, that it might just change the way you see love, friendship, and the people who matter most in your life? Imagine this, a young girl, barely scraping by, living in a world that seems to have turned its back on her, yet she's holding on to a secret, a truth about relationships that could unravel everything you think you know. What is it that keeps her going when the odds are stacked against her? Why does she cling to hope when everyone else would have given up? That's the mystery we're diving into today, and I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll have the answer you came here for, the meaning of true relationships. So, grab a cozy spot, maybe a snack, and stick with me, because this journey is going to pull you in and keep you hooked until the very last second. You're not just watching a story, you're stepping into the life of someone who's about to teach us all what it really means to connect, to love, and to fight for what matters. Let's get started. You ever feel like the world's moving so fast that you're just trying to catch your breath? Like you're chasing something, maybe love, maybe friendship, maybe just someone who gets you, but it keeps slipping through your fingers? That's exactly where our story begins, in a small, run-down town in the heart of America, where life isn't all Instagram filters and TikTok trends. It's gritty, it's tough, and for our main girl, Lily, it's a daily battle just to keep her head above water. Lily's not your typical YouTube story hero, she's not chasing fame or fortune. She's a 19-year-old with calloused hands from washing dishes at a greasy diner, a heart full of dreams she's too afraid to speak out loud, and a past that weighs on her like a storm cloud that won't quit. But there's something about her, something that draws you in the moment you meet her. Maybe it's the way her eyes light up when she talks about the people she loves, or the way she laughs even when life's kicking her down. You're going to feel like you know her, like she's that friend you've been rooting for your whole life. And trust me, you're going to want to stick around to see where her journey takes her, because Lily's story isn't just about her, it's about you, me, and every single one of us who's ever wondered what makes a relationship truly worth fighting for. Now, let's talk about you for a second. Why are you here? Maybe you're curious about love, maybe you're trying to figure out why some friendships fade while others last a lifetime. Or maybe you're just tired of the same old content and you want something that feels real, something that speaks to your soul. I get it, and I'm here to deliver. This video isn't just a story, it's a mirror. It's going to hold up a reflection of your own life, your own struggles, and your own hopes. As we follow Lily, you're going to see pieces of yourself in her choices, her mistakes, and her victories. And here's my promise to you, I'm not going to waste your time. Every moment of this video is crafted to keep you engaged, to make you feel something, and to leave you with an answer that's worth your while. So, I need you to do one thing, stay with me. Don't click away, don't let that notification pull you out. You're here for a reason, and by the time we're done, you're going to know exactly what that reason is. Lily's journey is going to show you that true relationships aren't about perfection, they're about showing up, even when it's messy, even when it hurts. Let's set the scene a little more, because I want you to feel like you're right there with Lily, walking the cracked sidewalks of her small town, hearing the hum of cicadas in the summer heat. Picture a place where the dollar store is the biggest attraction, where the diner's neon sign flickers like it's on its last legs, and where everyone knows everyone's business, or at least they think they do. Lily's life isn't glamorous, but it's real. She lives in a tiny apartment with peeling wallpaper, sharing it with her mom, who's been working double shifts at the factory for as long as Lily can remember. Money's tight, opportunities are scarce, and the future. It feels like a distant dream, something other people get to have. But Lily's got something most people don't, a heart that refuses to give up, and a belief that relationships, the real ones, are what make life worth living. She's not just surviving, she's searching for something deeper, something that gives her pain and her struggles meaning. And that's where the mystery kicks in. What is it that Lily knows about relationships that we don't? What's the secret she's carrying, the one that's going to turn her world upside down and make you rethink everything? I know you're curious, and I'm not going to spoil it just yet, but let me introduce you to a couple of key people in Lily's life, because they're going to pull you deeper into this story. First, there's Emma, Lily's best friend since they were kids stealing crayons in elementary school. Emma's the kind of person who lights up a room, but she's got her own demons, secrets she's keeping even from Lily. Their friendship is the heartbeat of this story, but it's not all sunshine and sleepovers. There's tension, there's history, and there's a question hanging over them. Can their bond survive the truth? Then there's Jake, the quiet guy who works at the diner with Lily. He's got a smile that makes your heart skip a beat and a past he doesn't talk about. Is he just a friend, or could he be something more? Lily's not sure, and neither are we, but every time he's around, you're going to feel that spark, that possibility. These three, Lily, Emma, and Jake, are at the center of a story that's going to twist and turn in ways you won't see coming. And through it all, we're going to explore themes that hit home: love, loyalty, betrayal, and the courage it takes to hold on to the people who matter most. Here's where I want to get real with you. You're not just a viewer to me, you're part of this. I'm telling you Lily's story because I know you've got your own. Maybe you've loved someone who let you down, or maybe you've got a friend who's more like family. Maybe you're wondering if you're enough, if your relationships are enough. This video is for you. As we follow Lily's journey, you're going to see her face choices that feel impossible, moments where she has to decide who to trust, who to fight for, and who to let go. And every step of the way, I'm going to be right here, guiding you through it, making sure you don't miss a single moment. I'm not just narrating, I'm inviting you to feel this story, to let it sink into your bones. Because when we get to the end, when we uncover the truth about what true relationships mean, it's going to be worth it. You're going to walk away with something, a lesson, a feeling, a spark that stays with you long after the video ends. Now, let's talk about the vibe of this story, because I want you to know what you're in for. The tone is heartfelt but not sappy, real but not depressing. Think of it like a late-night conversation with your best friend, where you're laughing one minute and tearing up the next. The atmosphere is vivid. You're going to smell the coffee from the diner, feel the weight of Lily's worn-out sneakers, and hear the crackle of her mom's old radio playing in the background. I'm going to let you in on a little secret about how I'm keeping you hooked. Every part of this story is designed to make you feel invested. When Lily laughs, you're going to smile. When she cries, you're going to feel that lump in your throat. And when she's standing at a crossroads, you're going to be right there with her, wondering what she'll do next. I'm not just telling you a story, I'm building a connection between you and Lily, between you and me. And here's my master move: I'm going to keep you guessing. Just when you think you've got it figured out, just when you think you know what true relationships mean, I'm going to throw in a twist that makes you rethink everything. But don't worry, I'm not going to leave you hanging forever. By the end of this video, you're going to get the answer you came for, and it's going to hit you in a way you didn't expect. So, keep watching, keep feeling, and let's go on this journey together. We're getting close to the moment where things start to shift, where Lily's world starts to crack open and reveal the truth she's been chasing. But before we go there, let me paint one more picture for you. It's a quiet night, and Lily's sitting on the roof of her apartment building, staring up at a sky full of stars. She's got a notebook in her lap, one she's been writing in for years, filled with thoughts about the people she loves and the dreams she's too scared to chase. Emma's supposed to meet her up there, but she's late again. Jake's face keeps popping into her mind, his words from earlier that day echoing in her ears. And then there's her mom, who's been acting strange, hiding something that Lily can't quite put her finger on. As she sits there, the weight of it all crashes down on her: the poverty, the secrets, the fear that maybe she's not enough to hold it all together. But then she hears something, a sound that makes her heart stop. It's faint at first, but it's coming closer, and it's about to change everything. What is it? Who's there? And what does it have to do with the secret Lily's been carrying all along? You're going to have to keep watching to find out, because this is where Lily's journey takes a turn you won't see coming, and the truth about true relationships starts to come into focus as Lily sat on that rooftop, the distant sound growing louder, her heart pounded with a mix of fear and anticipation, like she was standing on the edge of something she couldn't quite name. The stars above seemed to flicker, as if they knew something she didn't, and the notebook in her lap felt heavier than it should, its pages filled with scribbled dreams and questions she'd never dared to ask out loud. You're right there with her, aren't you? Wondering what that sound is, what it means, and why it's making the hair on the back of your neck stand up. I'm not going to give it away just yet, because this story, this journey, is about peeling back the layers, about diving into the messy, beautiful, complicated truth of what makes relationships real. So, let's step back just a little, rewind the tape, and walk through the days and weeks leading up to this moment, because to understand why Lily's here, why she's holding her breath as that sound gets closer, we need to know where she's been. You're going to meet the people who've shaped her, the choices that have haunted her, and the secrets that are starting to bubble up to the surface. Stick with me, because every detail I'm about to share is a piece of the puzzle, and by the end of this video, you're going to see how it all fits together to reveal the meaning of true relationships. Lily's life in the weeks before this rooftop moment was a whirlwind of small victories and quiet heartbreaks, the kind that don't make headlines but carve themselves into your soul. She'd been pulling extra shifts at the diner, the kind where the grease clings to your skin and the tips barely cover the electric bill. But it wasn't just about the money Lily was saving up, though she wouldn't tell anyone what for. Was it a bus ticket out of town, a chance to chase a dream she'd buried long ago? Or was it something else, something tied to the people she loved? You can feel her determination, can't you? That stubborn spark that kept her going even when her feet ached and her mom's tired sighs echoed through their tiny apartment. Her mom, Carol, was a constant in Lily's life, but lately, things had been off. Carol was working later than usual, coming home with shadows under her eyes and a distracted look that made Lily's stomach twist. When Lily asked what was wrong, Carol would just smile too quickly, too tightly, and change the subject. It was the kind of smile that hid something, and Lily couldn't shake the feeling that her mom was keeping a secret, one that might explain the late-night phone calls Lily had overheard, muffled through the thin walls. Was Carol in trouble? Was it money, or something deeper, something that could pull their fragile life apart? You're starting to wonder, and that's exactly where I want you, because the truth is closer than you think, but it's tangled up in a web of clues and misdirection. Then there's Emma, Lily's best friend, the one person who'd always been her anchor in this small, suffocating town. Emma was the kind of friend who could make you laugh until your sides hurt, who knew your secrets before you even admitted them to yourself. But these past few weeks, Emma had been distant, her texts short and her excuses flimsy. She'd cancelled plans to hang out, claiming she was busy with her new job at the town's only gas station, but Lily had seen her car parked outside the old community center late at night, when she was supposed to be working. What was Emma doing there? Was she meeting someone, or was she caught up in something she couldn't tell Lily about? The thought gnawed at Lily, because their friendship was supposed to be unbreakable, the one thing she could count on. But now, as she sat on that rooftop waiting for Emma, who was late again, doubt crept in like a cold wind. You know that feeling, don't you? When someone you love starts to feel like a stranger, and you're left wondering if you ever really knew them at all. Emma's secrecy is a red herring, or maybe it's not, maybe it's a clue to the bigger mystery of what Lily's chasing. You're going to want to keep an eye on her, because every move she makes is going to make you question what true relationships really mean. And let's not forget Jake, the guy who's been lingering in Lily's thoughts more than she'd like to admit. Jake was new to the diner, hired just a month ago, and there was something about him that made Lily's heart skip, a quiet kindness, a way of listening that made her feel seen. They'd started talking during slow shifts, sharing stories over lukewarm coffee, and Lily found herself looking forward to those moments more than she expected. But Jake wasn't an open book. He'd mentioned growing up in a nearby city, but when Lily asked about his family or why he'd moved to this nowhere town, he'd get quiet, his smile fading just enough to notice. One day, Lily had caught him outside the diner, talking on his phone in hushed tones, his face tense. When he saw her, he'd hung up quickly, brushing it off with a joke, but Lily couldn't shake the feeling that he was hiding something. She'd been seen there with her notebook, scribbling furiously, her brow furrowed like she was trying to solve a puzzle. The librarian, Mrs. Harrow, had noticed Lily's visits, commenting to a coworker that Lily seemed different, more focused, but also more anxious. Was Lily researching something, maybe digging into her family's past or the town's history? Or was she writing something, a story or a letter that held the key to her secret? The library was where Lily had run into Mr. Thompson, the diner's grumpy regular, who'd been oddly kind to her lately, slipping her extra tips and asking about her plans. His sudden interest made Lily uneasy, especially after she'd overheard him arguing with someone in the diner's parking lot, his voice low and urgent. Was Mr. Thompson just a lonely old man, or was he part of something bigger, something tied to the sound that was now closing in on Lily as she sat under the stars? You're starting to see how everyone in Lily's life is a piece of this mystery, aren't you? Each one could be a suspect, a savior, or just a distraction, and that uncertainty is what's going to keep you glued to this story. As the sound on the rooftop grew louder, a rustling, a footstep, maybe something else, Lily's mind raced back to the events that had brought her here. There was the night she'd found her mom's old photo album hidden under a loose floorboard, filled with pictures of people Lily didn't recognize, their faces serious, their eyes holding secrets. There was the strange conversation she'd had with Emma's boss at the gas station, who'd hinted that Emma wasn't always at work when she said she was. And there was the moment Jake had grabbed her hand during a late shift, his touch lingering just a second too long, his eyes searching hers like he wanted to say something but couldn't. All of these moments were swirling in Lily's head, each one a clue, each one a question. The air on the rooftop felt thicker now, charged with the weight of what was coming. You can feel it, can't you? That electric tension, that sense that something's about to break wide open. Who's out there in the dark? What do they want with Lily? And how does it all tie back to the secret she's been carrying, the one that's about to unravel the meaning of true relationships? You're not going to want to look away, because the next step in this journey is going to pull you deeper into the mystery, and the truth is closer than you think. The rustling sound on the rooftop stopped abruptly, leaving Lily frozen, her breath caught in her throat as she strained to hear what came next. The silence was heavier than the noise, pressing down on her like a warning, and for a moment, she wondered if she'd imagined it all. But the prickling on her skin told her otherwise. Something, or someone, was out there, and it was tied to the secret she'd been chasing, the truth about what makes relationships real. You're feeling that chill too, aren't you? That moment when you know you're on the verge of something big, but the path ahead is littered with obstacles you didn't see coming. That's exactly where Lily is right now, and as we dive deeper into her journey, things are about to get messier, more dangerous, and a whole lot more complicated. The clues she's been gathering, the people she's been leaning on, they're starting to slip through her fingers, and every step toward the truth is met with a new roadblock. Stay with me, because I'm going to pull you into the heart of this mystery, where betrayals from the past and warnings from the present are closing in on Lily, and the stakes are higher than ever. You're not just watching a story, you're living it with her, and trust me, you're going to want to see what happens next. In the days following that tense night on the rooftop, Lily's determination to uncover the truth only grew, but the world seemed hell-bent on pushing her back. It started with her notebook, the one she'd been pouring her heart into, the one that held her thoughts, her questions, and maybe even the key to the mystery. She'd left it on the diner counter during a chaotic lunch rush, just for a moment, but when she went back to grab it, it was gone. Not misplaced, not tucked behind a napkin dispenser, gone. She tore the place apart, checking every corner, asking her co-workers if they'd seen it, but no one had. Jake had been there, wiping down tables, and he'd helped her look, his face creased with concern. But there was a flicker in his eyes, a hesitation when she asked if he'd noticed anyone near her stuff, that made her stomach twist. Was he hiding something, or was she just paranoid? The loss of the notebook felt like a punch to the gut. It wasn't just paper and ink, it was her anchor, her way of making sense of the chaos. Without it, the clues she'd been piecing together felt like scattered puzzle pieces, and the anonymous note she'd found weeks ago, the one that said "be careful," loomed larger in her mind. Someone didn't want her digging, and now they'd taken her most precious tool. You know that sinking feeling when you lose something irreplaceable, don't you? Multiply that by 100, and you're close to what Lily's feeling, but she's not giving up, not yet. Then came the warning, delivered in a way that made Lily's blood run cold. It was a slow evening at the diner, the kind where the hum of the fluorescent lights was louder than the chatter. Mr. Thompson, the regular who'd been oddly kind to her lately, lingered at his usual booth, nursing a coffee long after he'd paid his bill. As Lily cleared his table, he grabbed her wrist, not hard, but firm enough to make her freeze. His voice was low, almost a whisper, as he told her, "You're asking too many questions, kid. Some things are better left alone." His eyes, usually tired and distant, were sharp, pinning her in place. She mumbled something about not knowing what he meant, but her heart was racing as she pulled away. Mr. Thompson had always been a fixture in her life, like the diner itself, but now he felt like a stranger, someone who knew more than he was letting on. Was he trying to protect her, or was he part of whatever she was uncovering? The encounter left her shaken, and when she told Emma about it later, hoping for some reassurance, Emma's reaction only deepened the unease. Instead of laughing it off or offering her usual fiery support, Emma went quiet, her face pale, and changed the subject. "You're starting to see the cracks in Lily's world, aren't you? The people she trusts, the ones she thought were her rock, are acting like they're hiding something, and it's making you question everything just like she is." What made things even murkier was a discovery Lily stumbled upon while cleaning out the diner's storage room a few days later, a task she'd taken on to distract herself from the missing notebook and Mr. Thompson's cryptic warning. Tucked behind a stack of old menus, she found a faded photograph, crumpled at the edges, showing a group of people standing in front of the community center. She recognized her mom, Carol, younger and smiling, but there were others she didn't know except for one face that stopped her cold. It was a man who looked eerily like Jake, but older, with the same quiet intensity in his eyes. On the back of the photo, in shaky handwriting, was a date from 20 years ago and the words "never forget." Lily's mind raced. Was this Jake's father? Had Jake lied about his past, about why he'd come to this town? And why was her mom in the picture, tied to an event Lily had never heard about? Mr. Thompson, the regular who'd been oddly kind to her lately, lingered at his usual booth, nursing a coffee long after he'd paid his bill. As Lily cleared his table, he grabbed her wrist, not hard, but firm enough to make her freeze. His voice was low, almost a whisper, as he told her, "You're asking too many questions, kid. Some things are better left alone." His eyes, usually tired and distant, were sharp, pinning her in place. She mumbled something about not knowing what he meant, but her heart was racing as she pulled away. Mr. Thompson had always been a fixture in her life, like the diner itself, but now he felt like a stranger, someone who knew more than he was letting on. Was he trying to protect her, or was he part of whatever she was uncovering? The encounter left her shaken, and when she told Emma about it later, hoping for some reassurance, Emma's reaction only deepened the unease. Instead of laughing it off or offering her usual fiery support, Emma went quiet, her face pale, and changed the subject. "You're starting to see the cracks in Lily's world, aren't you? The people she trusts, the ones she thought were her rock, are acting like they're hiding something, and it's making you question everything just like she is." What made things even murkier was a discovery Lily stumbled upon while cleaning out the diner's storage room a few days later, a task she'd taken on to distract herself from the missing notebook and Mr. Thompson's cryptic warning. Tucked behind a stack of old menus, she found a faded photograph, crumpled at the edges, showing a group of people standing in front of the community center. She recognized her mom, Carol, younger and smiling, but there were others she didn't know except for one face that stopped her cold. It was a man who looked eerily like Jake, but older, with the same quiet intensity in his eyes. On the back of the photo, in shaky handwriting, was a date from 20 years ago and the words "never forget." Lily's mind raced. Was this Jake's father? Had Jake lied about his past, about why he'd come to this town? And why was her mom in the picture, tied to an event Lily had never heard about? The photo hinted at a secret past, a betrayal or a tragedy that had been buried long ago, and it made Lily wonder if the mystery she was chasing wasn't just about her present, but about something that happened before she was even born. You can feel the weight of that discovery, can't you? It's like finding a locked door in your own house, one you never knew existed, and now you're desperate to find the key. Adding to the chaos was a new figure in Lily's life, someone who seemed to appear at just the right or wrong moment. Her name was Sarah, a woman in her 30s who'd started coming to the diner regularly, always sitting in Lily's section. Sarah was friendly, almost too friendly, with a warm smile and a knack for asking questions that felt personal without crossing a line. She'd talk about her travels, her work as a freelance writer, and drop hints about knowing the town's history better than most. One day, when Lily mentioned the community center in passing, Sarah's eyes lit up, and she offered to help Lily dig into old records, saying she had connections at the library. It sounded like a lifeline, a way to uncover what the photo meant, but there was something about Sarah that didn't sit right. Her stories changed slightly each time she told them, and once, Lily caught her watching her from across the diner, her expression unreadable. Was Sarah a genuine ally, someone who could help Lily unravel the truth? Or was she another obstacle, someone sent to steer Lily away from the answers? You're starting to wonder who you can trust in this story, And that's exactly how Lily feels, caught in a web where every thread could lead to the truth or pull her deeper into danger. As these obstacles piled up, the missing notebook, Mr. Thompson's warning, the mysterious photo, and Sarah's questionable motives, Lily's resolve was tested, but her need to understand the meaning of true relationships only burned brighter. She couldn't shake the feeling that the answers were tied to the people around her, to the secrets they were keeping and the past they wouldn't share. But just when she thought she was getting closer, something happened that turned everything upside down. It was late at night, and Lily was walking home from the diner, the streets quiet except for the hum of crickets. She'd taken to carrying the old photo with her, tucked into her pocket like a talisman. As she passed the community center, its windows dark and lifeless, she heard footsteps behind her, quick, deliberate, too close. Her heart leapt, and she spun around, but no one was there. When she reached into her pocket to steady herself, to feel the photo's familiar edges, it was gone. Someone had taken it, or she'd dropped it in her panic, but either way, it felt like a message: stop looking, or else. Who was following her? What did they want to keep hidden? And how far were they willing to go to stop her from uncovering the truth? You're on the edge of your seat now, aren't you? The mystery is tightening its grip, and the next twist is going to pull you in even deeper. The empty street stretched out before Lily as she stood frozen, her hand still clutching the now empty pocket where the photograph had been, her pulse hammering in her ears as the echo of those footsteps faded into the night. The loss of the photo felt like more than a coincidence, it was a deliberate strike, a warning that whoever was watching her was closer than she'd realized, and they were playing for keeps. You're right there with her, aren't you? Heart racing, mind spinning, wondering who's behind this and why they're so desperate to keep Lily from the truth. Just when you thought this mystery couldn't get any more tangled, a new thread is about to weave its way into the story, pulling you deeper into a web of secrets, motives, and unexpected connections. This isn't just about Lily anymore, someone else is being drawn into the same dangerous game, and what they uncover is going to make you question everything you thought you knew about the people in her life. The stakes are climbing higher, the tension is thickening, and every step forward feels like it could lead to a breakthrough or a trap. Stay with me, because this journey is about to take a turn that will leave you gripping the edge of your seat, desperate to know what true relationships really mean in a world where trust is a gamble. The morning after the chilling encounter on her walk home, Lily woke with a knot in her stomach, the weight of the missing photo and the anonymous footsteps pressing down on her like a storm cloud. She wanted to tell someone, to lean on the people she loved, but doubt had taken root. Emma's secrecy, Jake's evasiveness, even her mom's strange behavior made her wonder who she could trust. She decided to confide in Emma, hoping her best friend could help make sense of the chaos, but when she got to Emma's place, she found her friend shaken, her usual spark dimmed. Emma was clutching a crumpled piece of paper, her hands trembling as she handed it to Lily. It was a note, scrawled in the same jagged handwriting as the "Be careful" message Lily had found weeks ago, but this one was different. It read, "You're not the only one watching." Emma's voice cracked as she explained she'd found it slipped under her door that morning, no explanation, no sender. The words sent a shiver through Lily, because they weren't just a threat, they were proof that whatever Lily was chasing, it wasn't just about her. Someone else was being targeted, someone else was part of this mystery, and Emma's involvement raised a flood of new questions. Was Emma a victim, caught in the same net as Lily? Or was she hiding something, maybe even playing a role in the shadows? You're starting to feel that uneasy pull, aren't you? The kind that makes you second-guess everyone's motives, wondering if the people closest to Lily are her allies or her enemies. Who was following her? What did they want to keep hidden? And how far were they willing to go to stop her from uncovering the truth? You're on the edge of your seat now, aren't you? The mystery is tightening its grip, and the next twist is going to pull you in even deeper. The empty street stretched out before Lily as she stood frozen, her hand still clutching the now empty pocket where the photograph had been, her pulse hammering in her ears as the echo of those footsteps faded into the night. The loss of the photo felt like more than a coincidence, it was a deliberate strike, a warning that whoever was watching her was closer than she'd realized, and they were playing for keeps. You're right there with her, aren't you? Heart racing, mind spinning, wondering who's behind this and why they're so desperate to keep Lily from the truth. Just when you thought this mystery couldn't get any more tangled, a new thread is about to weave its way into the story, pulling you deeper into a web of secrets, motives, and unexpected connections. This isn't just about Lily anymore. Someone else is being drawn into the same dangerous game, and what they uncover is going to make you question everything you thought you knew about the people in her life. The stakes are climbing higher, the tension is thickening, and every step forward feels like it could lead to a breakthrough or a trap. Stay with me, because this journey is about to take a turn that will leave you gripping the edge of your seat, desperate to know what true relationships really mean in a world where trust is a gamble. The morning after the chilling encounter on her walk home, Lily woke with a knot in her stomach, the weight of the missing photo and the anonymous footsteps pressing down on her like a storm cloud. She wanted to tell someone, to lean on the people she loved, but doubt had taken root. Emma's secrecy, Jake's evasiveness, even her mom's strange behavior made her wonder who she could trust. She decided to confide in Emma, hoping her best friend could help make sense of the chaos, but when she got to Emma's place, she found her friend shaken, her usual spark dimmed. Emma was clutching a crumpled piece of paper, her hands trembling as she handed it to Lily. It was a note, scrawled in the same jagged handwriting as the "Be careful" message Lily had found weeks ago, but this one was different. It read, "You're not the only one watching." Emma's voice cracked as she explained she'd found it slipped under her door that morning. No explanation, no sender. The words sent a shiver through Lily, because they weren't just a threat, they were proof that whatever Lily was chasing, it wasn't just about her. Someone else was being targeted, someone else was part of this mystery, and Emma's involvement raised a flood of new questions. Was Emma a victim, caught in the same net as Lily? Or was she hiding something, maybe even playing a role in the shadows? You're starting to feel that uneasy pull, aren't you? The kind that makes you second-guess everyone's motives, wondering if the people closest to Lily are her allies or her enemies. This new note opened a secondary storyline that twisted the mystery into something even more complex, because it wasn't just about what Lily was uncovering, it was about why Emma was being pulled into it too. Emma swore she had no idea what the note meant, but her eyes darted away when Lily pressed her, asking if she'd been honest about her late-night trips to the community center or her sudden distance. Emma admitted she'd been meeting someone there, a guy named Ryan who'd been helping her with personal stuff, but she was vague, brushing it off as unimportant. Ryan was a name Lily hadn't heard before, a drifter who'd shown up in town a few months ago, working odd jobs and keeping to himself. The fact that Emma was involved with him, and that she'd kept it from Lily, felt like a betrayal, a crack in the foundation of their friendship. But there was more. Emma mentioned that Ryan had been asking questions about the town's past, about old scandals and forgotten names, and he'd seemed particularly curious about Lily's mom, Carol. The connection to the photograph Lily had lost, the one with Carol and the man who looked like Jake's father, was too striking to ignore. Was Ryan digging into the same secret Lily was chasing? Was he the one leaving the notes, or was he another pawn in someone else's game? You're caught in the same whirlwind as Lily, trying to piece together how this stranger fits into a puzzle that's growing more intricate by the minute. As if Emma's note and Ryan's involvement weren't enough to shake things up, Lily stumbled across a new piece of evidence that contradicted everything she'd been starting to believe. She'd gone back to the library, hoping to find some record of the community center's history that might explain the photograph, when she found an old newspaper article tucked inside a dusty book. It was dated 20 years ago, the same year as the photo, and it described a fire at the community center that had destroyed part of the building. The article mentioned a group of locals who'd been involved in a controversial project there, but their names were redacted, replaced with black ink that hid their identities. What caught Lily's attention was a single line about a young woman who'd been injured in the fire, someone who'd left town shortly after and never returned. The description of her, petite, with a stubborn streak and a knack for writing, sounded eerily like it could be Carol, but Carol had never mentioned a fire, never hinted at a past that involved anything so dramatic. If this was her mom, why had she kept it a secret? And if it wasn't, who was this woman, and why was her story buried in a way that felt deliberate? The article was a lifeline, but it also muddied the waters, making Lily question whether the mystery was about her mom's past, the community center, or something even bigger that tied everyone together. The stakes were climbing higher now, because every move Lily made seemed to draw more attention, more danger. Sarah, the freelance writer who'd offered to help, was still hanging around the diner, her questions growing sharper, her interest in Lily's life feeling less like curiosity and more like surveillance. One afternoon, Sarah casually mentioned knowing Ryan, claiming they'd crossed paths while researching the town's history, but the way she said it, too smooth, too practiced, made Lily's skin crawl. Was Sarah working with Ryan, feeding him information about Lily? Or was she manipulating everyone, playing a game no one else could see? Even Jake was acting strange, showing up at the diner with a cut on his hand he wouldn't explain, his usual warmth replaced with a distracted edge. When Lily asked him about the article, about the fire, he shut down, saying he didn't know anything about it, but his voice was tight, like he was holding something back. The people in Lily's life were starting to feel like pieces on a chessboard, each one moving in ways she couldn't predict, and the more she learned, the less she trusted their motives. You're feeling that same distrust, aren't you? Wondering who's telling the truth, who's hiding something, and whether Lily's even safe in her own town. Just as Lily was grappling with these new revelations, the note to Emma, Ryan's shadowy presence, the article about the fire, something happened that flipped the script entirely. She was closing up the diner late one night, the neon sign flickering outside, when she found a small envelope taped to the back door. Her name was written on it in that same jagged handwriting, and inside was a single key, old and tarnished, with no note, no explanation. The key felt heavy in her hand, like it unlocked more than just a door, like it was the answer to everything she'd been chasing, or the final trap that would bring it all crashing down. What did it open? Was it connected to the community center, to the fire, to the photograph she'd lost? And who had left it there, knowing she'd find it? As she stood in the dim light, the key glinting in her palm, she heard a car engine start somewhere in the distance, its sound fading as it sped away. Someone was watching, someone who wanted her to keep going or stop. The choice was hers, but the cost was unclear, and the truth about true relationships was slipping further out of reach, tangled in a mystery that was about to take an even darker turn. The tarnished key in Lily's hand seemed to pulse with a life of its own as she stood outside the diner, the flickering neon sign casting long shadows that danced across the empty parking lot. The distant car engine had faded, but the weight of being watched clung to her, a suffocating presence that made her skin prickle and her heart thud unevenly. You're feeling it too, aren't you? That sinking realization that the mystery Lily's been chasing isn't just a puzzle, it's a predator, and it's closing in. Up until this moment, the threats had been subtle, the clues shrouded in ambiguity, but something drastic was about to shatter that fragile illusion of safety, forcing Lily to confront the very real danger she stumbled into. The truth about true relationships, the secret she's been so desperate to uncover, is now a double-edged sword, one that could cut deeper than she ever imagined. As we dive into this darker turn, you're going to feel the urgency, the fear, and the raw emotion of a girl who's starting to wonder if the people she loves are worth the risk or if they're the ones putting her in harm's way. Stay with me, because this story is about to grip you tighter, pulling you into a world where every choice feels like a gamble and every answer comes with a cost. The night Lily found the key, she barely slept, her mind spiraling as she turned it over and over in her hands, its cold metal a constant reminder of the unseen eyes tracking her every move. She hid it under her pillow, as if that could protect her from the questions it raised. What did it unlock? Who had left it? And why did it feel like a lure, baiting her deeper into a trap? By morning, her paranoia had taken root, blooming into a quiet dread that followed her as she headed to the diner for her shift. The familiar routine, pouring coffee, wiping counters, forcing smiles for customers, felt like a thin veil over the chaos in her head. She kept replaying the events of the past weeks, the missing notebook, the lost photograph, Mr. Thompson's warning, Emma's cryptic note, and now this key, each piece a jagged edge that didn't quite fit. Her thoughts were a tangle of fear and betrayal, because the people she'd always trusted, Emma, Jake, even her mom, were starting to feel like strangers, their motives clouded by secrets she couldn't crack. You know that feeling when doubt creeps in, don't you? When you start to wonder if the people you'd give everything for might be the ones holding the knife. For Lily, that doubt was no longer a whisper, it was a scream, and it was about to get louder. The drastic shift came that afternoon, when Lily's world tilted into something far darker than she'd ever anticipated. She was on her break, sitting in the diner's back alley, trying to steady her nerves, when she noticed something odd. Her mom, Carol, hadn't called or texted all day. Carol was a creature of habit, always checking in, even if it was just a quick love you between shifts at the factory. The silence was unnatural, and when Lily called her mom's phone, It went straight to voicemail, a robotic voice that felt like a slap. Panic gnawed at her, but she pushed it down, telling herself Carol was just busy. She tried texting, then calling again, but nothing. By the time her shift ended, the unease had hardened into fear, and she rushed home, her sneakers pounding the pavement as her mind raced with worst-case scenarios. When she burst into their tiny apartment, the sight that greeted her stopped her cold. The place was in disarray, drawers pulled open, papers scattered across the floor, the photo album she'd found under the floorboard gone. And Carol was nowhere to be found. A note was pinned to the fridge, not in her mom's handwriting, but in that same jagged scrawl she'd come to dread, "Stop digging, or she pays." The words hit like a fist, stealing her breath, confirming what she'd feared: her mom was gone, taken by someone who knew exactly what Lily was after. You're feeling that gut punch, aren't you? The terror of realizing the danger isn't just close, it's personal, and it's tearing apart the one relationship Lily thought was unbreakable. The weight of that note, of her mom's disappearance, crushed Lily, but it also sharpened her focus, forcing her to confront the reality that she was in serious danger, and so was everyone she loved. Her thoughts spiraled as she sank to the floor, surrounded by the chaos of their ransacked home. She thought of her mom's tired smiles, the way Carol had always protected her, even when they had nothing. Was this her fault? Had her relentless search for the truth about the photograph, the fire, the community center, put her mom in harm's way? The guilt was suffocating, but so was the fear, a gnawing paranoia that made her question every moment, every person. Emma's note, "You're not the only one watching," took on a new, sinister meaning. Had Emma known something was coming? Was she involved, or was she in danger too? And Jake, with his unexplained injuries and guarded answers, could he have betrayed her, or was he caught in the same net? Even Sarah, the too-friendly writer, felt like a threat now, her convenient appearances and vague connections to Ryan screaming of ulterior motives. Lily's mind was a battlefield, torn between the need to find her mom and the terror that every step forward could make things worse. You're right there with her, feeling that claustrophobic panic, wondering who's pulling the strings and whether Lily can trust anyone at all. In her desperation, Lily turned to the only clue she had left: the key. She clutched it like a lifeline, its edges digging into her palm as she tried to think through the fog of fear. It had to mean something, had to point to where her mom was or what this was all about. She thought of the community center, the one place that kept surfacing in every clue: the photograph, Ryan's late-night visits, the newspaper article about the fire. Maybe the key unlocked something there, a door or a box that held the answers. But the thought of going alone, of walking into a place that now felt like a trap, made her stomach churn. She considered calling Emma, but the memory of her friend's evasiveness stopped her. Jake was an option, but his secrets loomed too large. And Sarah? No, her instincts screamed to keep Sarah at arm's length. The isolation was crushing, a reminder that the true relationships she'd been chasing might be her undoing. You can feel her loneliness, can't you? That aching realization that the people you need most might be the ones you can't rely on. Lily was running out of time, and the danger was no longer a shadow, it was a presence, breathing down her neck, waiting for her next move. As Lily sat in the wreckage of her apartment, the key in one hand and the threatening note in the other, a new question emerged, one that twisted the mystery into an even darker knot. She noticed something on the note she hadn't seen at first: a faint smudge of grease, the kind you'd find on a diner apron, the kind she and Jake wiped from their hands every day. Her heart stuttered as the implications hit her. Was someone from the diner involved? Had Jake, or even Mr. Thompson, been in her apartment, leaving this note to scare her off? Or was it a deliberate misdirection, a way to make her doubt the one person she'd started to lean on? The grease stain was a small detail, but it was enough to send her paranoia into overdrive, making her question every interaction, every glance. The mystery was no longer just about her mom's disappearance or the secrets of the past, it was about whether Lily could survive long enough to uncover the truth. As she stood, resolve hardening despite her fear, she heard a creak outside the apartment door, a sound too deliberate to be the wind. Someone was there, just beyond the threshold, and they weren't leaving. Who was it? What did they want? And would Lily open the door to face them? Or was this the moment the hunter finally caught its prey? You're not going anywhere, are you? Because this story's about to plunge deeper into the dark, and the truth is closer and more dangerous than ever. The creak outside Lily's apartment door hung in the air like a held breath, a sound that pinned her in place as she gripped the tarnished key and the threatening note, her heart hammering so loud she could barely think. The grease stain on the note, with its damning hint of the diner, had already set her mind ablaze with suspicion, but what came next was about to rip the ground out from under her, turning everything she thought she knew about this mystery upside down. You're right there with her, aren't you? Pulse racing, questions piling up, wondering who's on the other side of that door and whether they're friend or foe. Up until now, the danger felt real but distant, a shadow Lily could outrun if she was clever enough. But this moment, this twist, is going to shatter that illusion, forcing you to rethink every clue, every motive, and every relationship in her life. The truth about true relationships, the secret she's been chasing through missing photos, cryptic notes, and her mom's disappearance, isn't what it seemed, and the revelation is going to hit like a thunderbolt, leaving you questioning everything you thought you understood. Stay with me, because this story is about to take a turn so wild, so unexpected, that you'll be glued to the screen, desperate to see where it leads. Lily's fear was a living thing, curling tight around her chest as she stared at the door, debating whether to open it or barricade herself inside. The note's warning, "Stop digging, or she pays," echoed in her mind, a threat against her mom that made every second feel like a countdown. But before she could decide, the choice was taken from her. The door swung open, not with a crash but with a slow, deliberate push, revealing a figure she hadn't expected. Emma, her best friend, standing there with wide, frantic eyes and a face pale as moonlight. Relief flooded Lily for a split second, but it vanished when she saw what Emma was holding, a crumpled photograph, identical to the one Lily had lost, the one with her mom and the man who looked like Jake's father. Emma's voice trembled as she stepped inside, closing the door behind her, and what she said next was a bombshell that rewrote the entire mystery. "Lily, this isn't about you. It's about me. I've been lying to you, and I'm so sorry, but you have to know the truth before it's too late." The words landed like a physical blow, and as Emma spoke, the story Lily had been piecing together about her mom's past, the community center fire, the notes, crumbled into something far more sinister. Emma wasn't just caught in the same net as Lily, she was at the center of it, and the secret she'd been hiding was about to change everything. "You're reeling, aren't you? Because the friend we thought was a victim, maybe a suspect, is now the key to a truth we never saw coming." Emma's confession poured out in a rush, her hands shaking as she clutched the photograph, her words painting a picture that turned the mystery on its head. She revealed that the controversial project mentioned in the old newspaper article, the one tied to the community center fire 20 years ago, wasn't just a random event, it was a cover-up, a deliberate act to hide something illegal, something that involved Emma's family, not Lily's. Emma's father, who died when she was a baby, had been part of a group that used the community center as a front for smuggling, a secret operation that went wrong when the fire broke out, killing several people and scattering the survivors. Carol, Lily's mom, had been a bystander, a young woman caught in the wrong place at the wrong time, but Emma's dad had been one of the masterminds. The photograph wasn't about Carol's past, it was about Emma's, a record of the people who'd been part of that dark chapter, including the man who looked like Jake's father, who Emma now admitted was her own uncle, a man who'd vanished after the fire. The notes, the threats, the key, they weren't targeting Lily because of her own search. They were aimed at Emma, who'd been digging into her family's history, trying to uncover what her father had done and why her uncle had disappeared. Lily had been collateral damage, pulled into a mystery that wasn't hers, and now her mom's disappearance was a warning to Emma, not Lily, to stop asking questions. "You're feeling that shockwave, aren't you? The realization that the story we've been following was built on a lie, that Lily's pursuit of the truth was a misdirection, and the real mystery is darker, deeper, and far more dangerous." But the twist didn't stop there, because Emma's revelation came with a gut punch of its own, one that made Lily's blood run cold and raised more questions than it answered. Emma admitted she'd known about the photograph's significance for months, ever since she'd found it in her mom's attic, but she'd kept it from Lily, even when Lily showed her the identical one she'd found. Why? Because Emma was terrified not just of the truth, but of Ryan, the drifter she'd been meeting at the community center. Ryan wasn't just some guy helping her with personal stuff, he was her cousin, the son of her missing uncle, and he'd come to town to bury the past, not uncover it. Emma had been working with him, feeding him information about Lily's movements, hoping to keep him from suspecting how much she knew. But Ryan was no ally. He'd been the one leaving the notes, the one who'd taken Carol, and Emma was now convinced he was watching them both, ready to silence anyone who got too close to the truth. The grease stain on the note, the one Lily thought pointed to Jake or the diner, was a red herring, a deliberate plant by Ryan to sow distrust. Emma's betrayal, her secrecy, wasn't malice, it was fear, but that didn't make it hurt less. Lily's mind reeled as she processed the scope of the deception, her best friend's lies cutting deeper than any threat. You're feeling that sting too, aren't you? The betrayal of someone you thought was family, the way it makes you question every moment you thought was real. The apartment felt smaller now, the walls closing in as Lily stared at Emma, the photograph trembling between them. Her mom was still missing, the key in her pocket still a mystery, and now she knew the danger wasn't hers alone, it was tied to a decades-old crime, a family secret that Emma had dragged her into without warning. But there was another layer, a hidden clue that Lily had overlooked, one that surfaced as Emma's confession sank in. The key, the one left on the diner's back door, wasn't just any key, it had a faint engraving, a tiny symbol Lily hadn't noticed until now, a flame, etched so small it was almost invisible. The fire at the community center, the one that had started it all, wasn't an accident, and the key was a link to whatever had been hidden in its aftermath. Did it unlock a safe, a room, a secret that Ryan was desperate to protect? And if Emma was telling the truth, why had Ryan targeted Lily's mom, not Emma's? The questions piled up, each one a spark in the dark, but the answers were still out of reach. Lily's paranoia surged, because if Ryan was watching, if he'd taken Carol, then he could be anywhere outside the apartment, in the shadows, or worse, closer than she realized. You're caught in that same spiral, aren't you? Wondering who's pulling the strings, whether Emma's confession is the whole truth, and what the flame on the key means. As Lily and Emma stood in the dim light, the air thick with fear and unspoken accusations, a new sound broke the silence, a sharp, deliberate knock at the door. It wasn't the creak from before, not the wind or a neighbor. It was calculated, insistent, the kind of knock that demanded an answer. Emma's eyes widened, her breath hitching, and Lily's hand tightened around the key, the flames engraving biting into her skin. Was it Ryan, come to finish what he'd started? Or was it someone else, someone who'd been hiding in plain sight, waiting for this moment to reveal their own agenda? The photograph, the key, the fire, the lies, they were all converging, and Lily was no longer just a bystander in Emma's mystery, she was a target, and the truth about true relationships was about to come at a cost she might not survive. Who was at the door? What did they know? And would opening it bring Lily closer to her mom or seal her fate? You're not going anywhere, are you? Because this story's about to explode into a new dimension of suspense, and the next move could change everything. The knock at the apartment door echoed like a gunshot in the tense silence, each rap sending a jolt through Lily's body as she stood frozen, the engraved key biting into her palm and Emma's tear-streaked face a mirror of her own fear. The revelation that Emma had been at the heart of this mystery, tied to a decades-old crime and a family secret that had cost Lily her mom's safety, was still sinking in. But this new interruption, this deliberate summons, felt like the moment everything could unravel or explode. You're right there with her, aren't you? Your heart pounding, your mind racing, wondering who's on the other side and whether they're holding the answers or the end of the line. Lily's journey to uncover the meaning of true relationships has brought her to a crossroads where every choice feels impossible, where the people she loves are both her strength and her vulnerability, and where the truth she's chasing might come at a price she can't afford. The stakes are skyrocketing now, and the emotional weight of her decisions is going to pull you deeper into her struggle, making you feel every ounce of her fear, her hope, and her heartbreak. Stay with me, because this story is about to push Lily to the edge, and the choices she makes will leave you breathless, questioning what you'd do in her place. Lily's first instinct was to ignore the knock, to grab Emma and run, but the apartment was a trap, one door, no back exit, and the ransacked mess around them a reminder that whoever had taken her mom had already been here. Her mind churned with the weight of Emma's confession, the photograph tying her friend's family to the community center fire, and the flame-engraved key that hinted at a hidden truth buried in the ashes of that night. But the knock came again, sharper this time, and with it, a voice, low, muffled, but unmistakable. It was Jake, his tone urgent, saying, "Lily, open the door." It's about your mom. Please. The sound of his voice was a lifeline and a lightning bolt, because Jake was the one person she'd wanted to trust, the one whose quiet kindness had felt like a safe harbor in this storm. But the grease stain on the note, the questions about his past, and now his sudden appearance at her door in the middle of this chaos made her stomach twist with doubt. Was he here to help, or was he part of the web Ryan had spun, the one that had taken Carol and threatened Emma? Emma grabbed her arm, whispering fiercely that they couldn't trust him, that Ryan had mentioned knowing someone at the diner, but Lily's heart was screaming something else, that Jake might know where her mom was, that he might be her only chance. The choice was impossible: open the door and risk everything, or stay locked inside and lose the one lead she had. You're feeling that gut-wrenching dilemma, aren't you? The kind that makes your chest ache, because no matter what Lily chooses, something precious could break. She took a shaky breath, her hand hovering over the doorknob, and in that moment, her thoughts spiraled into the emotional depths of everything she'd lost and everything she was fighting for. Her mom's face flashed in her mind, Carol's tired eyes, her calloused hands, the way she'd hum old songs while cooking dinner, even when they had nothing but canned soup. Carol was Lily's anchor, the one true relationship that had never faltered, and the thought of her in danger, maybe hurt, maybe worse, was a pain so raw it felt like it could tear Lily apart. But there was Emma, too, her best friend, who'd lied and betrayed her trust but was now trembling beside her, caught in the same nightmare. And Jake, who'd made her heart skip with a single look, who might be her savior or her downfall. The weight of these relationships, the love and the hurt they carried, was crushing her, and the paranoia that had been simmering now boiled over. What if Jake was working with Ryan? What if Emma's confession was only half the truth? What if the key in her pocket was a trap, meant to lure her to the community center where something worse was waiting? Lily's fear wasn't just about the danger outside, it was about the realization that the people she'd built her life around might be the ones pulling it apart. You know that kind of heartbreak, don't you? When love and doubt collide, leaving you stranded in a place where every choice feels like a betrayal of someone you care about. Lily opened the door, her hand shaking, because the pull of her mom's safety was stronger than her fear. Jake stood there, his face pale, a cut on his cheek she hadn't seen before, and his eyes darted past her to Emma before locking onto hers. He didn't step inside, his voice low and urgent as he said, "Lily, I found something. It's about the fire, about your mom. But we have to go now, Ryan's not far behind." The mention of Ryan sent a chill through her, but before she could ask more, Jake pulled out a folded piece of paper, a map, hand-drawn, showing the community center with a circled spot labeled basement. It was the first concrete clue about where her mom might be, but it came with a catch. Jake's next words were an ultimatum that made her blood run cold. "You have to come alone, Lily. No one else can know, not even Emma. If you bring her, Ryan will know, and your mom's done." The map, the basement, the demand for secrecy, it was everything she'd been searching for, but it meant confronting Jake alone, trusting someone whose motives were still a question mark, and leaving Emma behind, despite the danger they were both in. Emma's grip on her arm tightened, her voice a hiss of protest, but Lily's mind was a storm of conflicting emotions, fear for her mom, anger at Emma's lies, and a desperate hope that Jake was telling the truth. "You're caught in that same storm, aren't you? Wondering if Jake's map is a lifeline or a lure, if Lily can afford to trust him, or if this choice will cost her everything." The emotional weight of this moment was crushing, because every option felt like a betrayal of someone Lily loved. If she went with Jake, she'd be abandoning Emma, who was already a target, leaving her vulnerable to Ryan or whoever else was out there. But if she stayed, if she refused Jake's terms, she might lose her only chance to save her mom, the one person who'd always been her rock. Her thoughts raced back to the flame-engraved key, the photograph, the fire that had started it all. Every clue pointed to the community center, to that basement, but the cost of following them was tearing her apart. She looked at Emma, whose eyes were pleading, filled with guilt and fear, and then at Jake, whose expression was unreadable, a mix of urgency and something darker, something she couldn't name. The map in his hand was a promise, but it was also a risk, and the ultimatum was a blade held to her throat. Her paranoia surged, whispering that Jake's sudden knowledge was too convenient, that Emma's protests were too desperate, that the key's flame symbol was a warning she hadn't heeded. The true relationships she'd been chasing, her love for her mom, her bond with Emma, Her growing feelings for Jake were now a battlefield, and the choice she made would define who she could save and who she'd lose. You're feeling that impossible pressure, aren't you? The way it makes your heart ache for Lily, because no matter what she does, someone's going to get hurt. As Lily stood there, torn between the map and the friend beside her, the tension in the apartment was shattered by a new sound, not a knock, but a low, deliberate scrape, like metal against metal, coming from the window at the far end of the room. It was faint but unmistakable, a reminder that the danger wasn't just at the door, it was everywhere, circling closer, and time was running out. Jake's eyes flicked toward the sound, his jaw tightening, and Emma let out a choked sob, her hand still on Lily's arm. The map, the key, the basement, the ultimatum, they were all converging, but now there was a new question. Was someone already here, listening, waiting to make sure Lily's choice didn't matter? Had Ryan found them, or was it someone else, someone who'd been pulling the strings all along? Lily's heart pounded as she realized the choice wasn't just about trust or betrayal, it was about survival, and the truth about true relationships was slipping further away, buried in a mystery that was about to swallow her whole. What would she do? Who would she choose? And what was waiting in the shadows, ready to strike? You're not going anywhere, are you? Because this story's about to plunge into a new layer of danger, and Lily's next move could be her last. The metallic scrape at the window sliced through the suffocating tension in Lily's apartment, a sound so sharp and deliberate it felt like the world was holding its breath, waiting for her to act. Her hand trembled around the flame-engraved key, Jake's map crumpled in her other fist, and Emma's desperate grip on her arm anchored her to a moment that was spiraling out of control. Jake's ultimatum, come alone to the community center's basement or risk her mom's life, loomed like a guillotine, but the scraping sound was a new threat, a reminder that danger wasn't just knocking, it was already here, clawing its way in. You're right there with Lily, aren't you? Your heart racing, your nerves frayed, feeling the walls close in as the truth she's been chasing reveals itself to be something far bigger, far darker than she ever imagined. The mystery of true relationships, the one that's cost her her mom's safety and her trust in everyone around her, is no longer just a personal quest, it's a conspiracy that stretches beyond her small town, ensnaring people she never suspected and exposing a betrayal so shocking it will leave you reeling. This is the climax we've been hurtling toward, and it's going to be fast, intense, and emotionally raw, pulling you into a storm of danger and deception where every second counts. Stay with me, because Lily's about to face the full scale of what she's uncovered, and the truth is going to hit like a freight train. Lily's eyes darted between Jake, Emma, and the window, her mind a whirlwind of fear and indecision as the scraping grew louder, more insistent, like someone was prying at the frame. She wanted to scream, to demand answers, but Jake moved first, his voice a harsh whisper as he grabbed her wrist and pulled her toward the door, his map still clutched in her hand. We're out of time, Lily. They're here. If you want to save your mom, we go now. Emma's protest was a choked cry, her nails digging into Lily's arm, but the desperation in Jake's eyes, the cut on his cheek, the urgency in his grip, pushed Lily to make the impossible choice. She wrenched free from Emma, her heart breaking at the betrayal in her friend's eyes, and followed Jake into the hallway, the map and key her only guides. The apartment door slammed shut behind them, muffling Emma's shout, and as they ran down the stairwell, the scraping at the window became a crash, glass shattering in the distance. Someone was inside, and Lily's gut told her it was Ryan, or worse, someone she hadn't even suspected yet. Her thoughts were a torrent of guilt and terror. She'd left Emma behind, vulnerable, but her mom's life was on the line, and the map to the community center's basement was the only path forward. You're feeling that frantic energy, aren't you? The way every step feels like a gamble, the way love and fear are tearing Lily apart as she races toward a truth that might destroy her. The streets were eerily quiet as Lily and Jake sprinted toward the community center, the map's crude lines burning into her memory, a circled spot marked basement that promised answers but screamed of danger. Jake was silent, his jaw tight, and Lily's paranoia surged, her mind replaying every moment she'd trusted him, his quiet smiles, his evasive answers, the grease stain on the note she'd thought implicated him. Was he leading her to her mom, or into a trap? The community center loomed ahead, its dark windows like empty eyes, and as they slipped through a side door, the air grew heavy with the smell of dust and secrets. Jake led her down a narrow staircase, the map guiding them to a rusted door in the basement, where the flame-engraved key fit perfectly into the lock. Her heart pounded as she turned it, the door creaking open to reveal a dimly lit room stacked with old files, photographs, and ledgers, evidence of the smuggling operation Emma had described, the one tied to the fire 20 years ago. But what Lily saw next stopped her cold. Among the papers was a recent photo of her mom, Carol, bound and gagged, time-stamped just hours ago, alongside a list of names that included not just Emma's father and uncle, but Mr. Thompson, the diner regular, and, most shockingly, Sarah, the freelance writer who'd been so eager to help. The conspiracy wasn't just a relic of the past, it was alive, thriving, and it involved people Lily had seen every day, people she'd trusted. "You're reeling from that bombshell, aren't you?" The realization that the danger isn't just Ryan, it's a network, and Lily's walked right into its heart. Before Lily could process the scale of the betrayal, Jake's voice cut through the silence, low and strained, as he grabbed a ledger from the pile and shoved it into her hands. "Lily, I didn't want you to find out like this. Sarah's not who she says she is, she's been running this since the fire, keeping it quiet, and I've been working with her." The words were a knife, twisting in Lily's chest as she stumbled back, the ledger falling to the floor. Jake, the one she'd chosen to trust, the one she'd followed into this basement, was part of the conspiracy, not a savior but a traitor. His eyes were filled with guilt, but his words kept coming, a confession that unraveled everything. Sarah had rebuilt the smuggling network after the fire, using the community center as a front, and Carol had been taken because she'd stumbled onto their operation while working late at the factory. Jake had been tasked with watching Lily, keeping her distracted, but he claimed he'd grown to care for her, that he was trying to protect her now by bringing her here. The ledger he'd given her was proof, names, dates, transactions that could expose Sarah and her allies, including Mr. Thompson, who'd been silencing anyone who got too close. But Jake's betrayal was only half the shock, because as Lily flipped through the ledger, she saw another name, Carol. Her mom wasn't just a victim, she'd been involved in the original operation 20 years ago, a truth she'd hidden from Lily her entire life. "You're feeling that gut punch, aren't you?" The way it shatters Lily's world, making her question not just Jake, but the one relationship she thought was pure. The emotional weight of this moment was crushing, as Lily stood in the basement, surrounded by evidence of a conspiracy that spanned decades and ensnared everyone she knew. Her mom, her hero, had a past she'd never shared, a secret that tied her to the same crime Lily was fighting to expose. Jake's betrayal cut deep, his feelings for her, real or not, now tainted by his role in Sarah's scheme. And Sarah, the woman who'd seemed like an ally, was the mastermind, orchestrating Carol's kidnapping and the threats against Emma to protect her empire. Lily's thoughts were a storm of grief and rage. She'd lost her mom to this conspiracy, her trust in Jake to his lies, and her faith in Emma to her friend's secrecy. The true relationships she'd been chasing were crumbling, each one tainted by deception, and yet she couldn't stop. She had to save her mom, even if it meant facing Sarah, even if it meant risking everything. The basement felt like a tomb, the air thick with danger, and as Lily clutched the ledger, she heard footsteps above, heavy and deliberate, descending the stairs. It was Sarah, her voice cold and commanding as she called out, "Lily, you've gone far enough. Let's talk." The conspiracy was closing in, and Lily was out of time, trapped in a room with a traitor she'd trusted and a truth she couldn't escape. Was Sarah here to negotiate, or to end it? Could Lily use the ledger to save her mom, or was it too late? And what did Jake's confession mean for her chances of getting out alive? You're on the edge of your seat, aren't you? Because this story's climax is a wildfire, and Lily's about to face a reckoning that will test the very meaning of true relationships. The air in the community center's basement was thick with dust and dread as Sarah's voice echoed from the stairwell, her words slicing through the dim light like a blade. "Lily, you've gone far enough. Let's talk." Lily stood frozen, the ledger of the smuggling conspiracy clutched against her chest, its pages heavy with names that included her mom, Carol, and the revelation that Sarah, the seemingly helpful writer, was the mastermind behind it all. Then came the twist, the one nobody saw coming, not even Lily. As Sarah lunged, aiming her knife at Carol, a new figure burst through the doorway, Emma, her face streaked with dirt and determination, holding a flashlight like a weapon. But she wasn't there to save Lily. In a voice trembling with rage, Emma revealed the final truth. She'd been working with Sarah all along, not as a victim or a pawn, but as a partner, driven by a need to avenge her father's death in the fire and take control of the smuggling network. The notes, the threats, even Ryan's involvement, they'd been Emma's plan to manipulate Lily, to use her as a distraction while Emma positioned herself to betray Sarah. The photograph, the one Emma had found, was a fake, planted to pull Lily into the mystery, and Emma's tears had been an act to keep her close. The betrayal was a sledgehammer, destroying the last shred of Lily's faith in true relationships, and as Emma turned the flashlight on Sarah, demanding the knife, the room erupted into chaos. Lily dove for her mom, shielding her as Sarah and Emma clashed, their screams echoing in the vault. Jake grabbed the ledger, shouting for Lily to run, but the truth was out, and the conspiracy was collapsing under its own weight. Who would make it out? Would Lily save her mom, or would Emma's betrayal be the final blow? And what did the truth about true relationships mean when everyone she loved had lied? You're breathless, aren't you? Because this climax is a firestorm, and the story's not over yet. The fallout is coming, and it's going to change everything. Absolutely. Here's a gripping, high-stakes climax designed for a US audience, optimized for YouTube-style storytelling. The keywords subtly woven in include plot twist, shocking ending, true crime, psychological thriller, final confrontation, secrets revealed, hidden truth, and mind-blowing twist. The storm outside had turned violent, pounding the glass walls of the old estate like the wrath of a world desperate to reveal what had long been buried. Lightning ripped across the sky, illuminating the vast, decaying study where it all began and where it would now end. Claire stood in the center of the room, soaked and shaking, not from the cold, but from the final puzzle piece she held in her trembling hand, a faded photograph with two young children and a man she thought she had never met, her father, standing beside the one person she had trusted most. Elias. He emerged from the shadows slowly, his face bathed in the flickering light of the fireplace, calm, composed, and terrifyingly unbothered. For a man who had orchestrated a decade-long conspiracy, he wore his guilt like silk, smooth, elegant, and impossible to grasp. "You weren't supposed to find that," he said, his voice low, almost regretful. But the lie didn't land. Claire saw it now, the manipulated crime scenes, the half-truths fed to her, the trails he'd left just clean enough to stay one step ahead. This wasn't just a true crime story waiting to be solved. It was personal. Her past hadn't just haunted her, it had been designed. "You killed them," Claire whispered, the photo crumpling in her fist. "You killed them all and made me chase ghosts." Elias tilted his head. "No. I just let the truth hide where it always belonged. In the shadows. You brought it into the light." And then, he lunged. The final confrontation was brutal, not in spectacle, but in the sheer psychological warfare of it. Claire wasn't fighting to win. She was fighting to understand. Every blow they exchanged carried history, a broken family, stolen childhoods, manipulated memories. As they crashed into bookshelves and shattered the glass-topped desk, secrets spilled out, literally. Hidden compartments broke open, revealing letters, tapes, and a blood-stained journal that spelled out what no one had dared to say. Elias wasn't just involved in the murders, he was the mastermind behind the entire cover-up, even manipulating law enforcement to protect someone far worse. Claire. But that's when the shocking twist landed. As she stood over Elias, victorious but breathless, he smiled through a split lip and said, "I did it all, for you. You think you're the victim here?" He reached for one final envelope, sliding it across the floor with eerie calm. "You were there that night, Claire. You just forgot." She opened it. Inside was a second photo, this one untouched, uncropped. Her 6-year-old self stood by the fireplace, holding the knife. Her mind reeled. Flashes hit her like lightning, her mother screaming, blood on her hands, Elias pulling her away, telling her, "You didn't see anything." The guilt hadn't been his alone. The truth was a knot twisted so deep in her memory that even she hadn't known she'd been the center of it all. The hidden truth unraveled everything. Claire dropped the knife she didn't remember picking up, and for the first time in years, she screamed, not in fear, but in recognition. Everything she'd built, her quest for justice, her need to expose the villain, had been fueled by a lie she'd unknowingly told herself. Elias wasn't just the villain, he was her protector. And yet, as the sirens grew louder in the distance, and blue lights painted the rain-slicked windows, he gave her one last choice: "You can tell them it was me. Or you can remember who you really are. The screen fades to black. Then, one final whisper. What would you choose? The rain had stopped by morning, leaving behind a heavy stillness that hung over the estate like a shroud, thick with memory and the weight of unspoken truths. The media swarmed outside, cameras flashing and microphones stretching toward the cracked front door, feeding the latest viral true crime twist to a hungry audience already addicted to the scandal. But inside, Claire sat alone in the once grand study, now hollowed by the final storm. Around her, the debris of revelation lingered: broken furniture, blooded tape reels, and the burned edges of evidence long suppressed. The truth had been uncovered, yes, but it hadn't set her free. It had caged her in something far more profound than any courtroom sentence ever could: the knowledge that the darkness she'd chased all her life had lived within her all along. For years, she had framed herself as the survivor, the justice seeker, the relentless truth digger unraveling someone else's lies. But now that the final thread had pulled everything apart, she saw the story in reverse: a child protected from her own memory, a man who became a monster just to shield her from the one she already was. The authorities ruled it a mutual altercation. Elias had confessed to crimes he didn't commit, and with no other living witnesses, the case was declared closed. The ending explained segments flooded YouTube within hours. Some praised Claire as a hero who fought her way to the truth, others speculated she had always known more than she claimed. Podcasts dissected every frame of the leaked footage, every word from the final audio recording, every clue she might have missed. But none of them knew what Claire knew now, what she couldn't say aloud: that the mind-blowing twist wasn't in the crime, but in how easily we rewrite our own roles in the stories we survive. She didn't expose a villain, she inherited his silence. She left the estate quietly, without a word to the press, without a final monologue or victory speech. Just a simple note left behind on the desk, 5 words long: truth isn't always the answer. And maybe that was what the audience needed to hear: not every mystery ends with clarity, not every trauma comes with closure. Sometimes the real horror isn't the villain lurking in the dark, it's the part of ourselves we bury just to feel safe in the light. Claire didn't vanish, but she didn't stay either. Last anyone heard, she was somewhere in the Northwest, living off-grid, her name changed, her past buried again under layers of quiet. And yet, months later, a new video surfaced online. Grainy, low resolution, but unmistakable. A woman, walking through a fog-covered forest, her back to the camera. She turns, just slightly, before disappearing into the trees. The internet exploded. Was it Claire? Had she come back? Was there more to the story? Conspiracy forums lit up, Reddit threads stretched into thousands of comments, and new YouTube creators built channels around dissecting this latest development. But no answers followed. No new evidence. Just silence. And that's how the story ended, or maybe, how it began again. Because sometimes, the scariest thing isn't what we find. It's what's still out there, waiting to be remembered.